Does it have a picture? Thank you for showing up early. If you're joining us for the team reveal, our event is going to start at the top of the hour, so in about 10 minutes. So please stand by. Thank you for joining us nice and early. We're going to be starting at the top of the hour, so just under 5 minutes until the team reveal. Doesn't that car look great? You're going to get to hear more about this and the Acronis SIT Autonomous Team Reveal in just 2 minutes' time. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. Thank you for joining us. This is your 1 minute warning for the start of the event. We're going to be starting in 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. The beauty of a video launch, you can be joining us from absolutely anywhere. And welcome to the official Acronis SIT Autonomous Team Reveal. Now, my name is Chris Medland, and I'm delighted to be your host today. I'm a Formula One journalist and broadcaster in my day job, but I'm really excited to learn more about this team, about Roborace, and about what's to come in season beta. So just before we kick things off, I've got a quick bit of housekeeping. This event is being recorded and broadcasted live on our Facebook and through YouTube channels. So I think that means watch your language, but it also means you can get involved as well. So we want to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat or the comments on both Facebook and YouTube, and we'll do our best to get to those. Now, today we're going to have the pleasure of hearing from a great panel of speakers. We've got Chip Pankow, the Chief Championship Officer at Roborace. We're also going to be hearing from Ilya Shimchik. He's the Team Principal at Acronis SIT Autonomous. And Yanyap Yaga, the Board Advisor and Senior Vice President at Acronis as well. But it's not just those guys that we want to hear from. As I've mentioned, we want to hear from you too. So like I said, if you've got any questions or any comments, please just leave them in the chat or in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll do our best to address them during the Q&A session that we're going to do after this event. So we've got a terrific lineup of speakers to hear from and a packed agenda to get through this morning from where I am at least. So let's get right to it. We're going to be hearing about Roborace and having a short story about the championship, and then we're going to introduce the SIT Autonomous team. Ilya Shimchik will be talking us through that. And then there'll be a bit of an overview of Acronis Sports and how it helps Autonomous stay cyber fit before we get to that Q&A session that I mentioned, where we'll be hopefully getting your questions in there too to our speakers. So we better get right to it. And our first speaker is Roborace Chief Championship Officer, Chip Pankow. Thanks for joining us today, Chip. I know it's very early where you are. You're the other side of the world in Los Angeles. So thank you very much for either getting up or staying up for us.
Yeah, I'm going to go with good morning, Chris. Thank you. So let me tell you a little bit. About Roborace. Next slide, please. So Roborace was founded in 2015, and it's really based on the following premises. We've created a championship where there are self-driving vehicles that are competing at the edge of performance in edge case scenarios. And the reason we do that is to really challenge the engineers. And the entire goal of this championship is to contribute to safety on public roads. We feel the harder we push the engineers, the quicker we learn, the faster we innovate. And everything we do in our competitions, and we'll talk about our competition format a little bit later, is road relevant. So if we're looking at localization, if we're looking at path planning, if we're looking at stabilization, all of these issues have road relevancy. And the idea is to try them out on the racetrack and then transfer that technology to vehicles that all of consumers will be riding in someday. Our platform is open and always encourages innovation. So we're always pushing farther and farther to see what we can learn. One of the fun things about this project is just about every time we go out to the track, we're trying something that's never been tried before. So it's hard work, but we think there's big payoff in it. Another thing about our platform is that it controls cost. It is not about building the fastest car. It is all focused on the software and software development. And the individual teams that compete in the championship are really working on their software package to control the hardware that we provide. And the hardware we provide, in other words, the cars, are all equalized in performance. And the key differentiator is the software and the AI and what the teams bring to the table. So in that way, it is indeed a training ground for AI professionals. We want to push them harder than they've ever been pushed before, so that they can have a great place to innovate and innovate quickly. And this is the part of the project that really accelerates the research and development that happens in the autonomous field. Next slide, please. So kind of putting those practices into action, these are some of our key accomplishments. As I said, we announced the project in November 2015. Of course, we premiered the Robocar, and you see a picture of it down there in the right-hand corner. Have run it all around the world to show people what an autonomous vehicle can do. You'll notice with Robocar, it has no cockpit. It is fully sensing through its sensor suite what is in front of it and what's around it and what's behind it, and is planning its path that way. We went to Berlin. We did a human plus machine challenge where we teamed humans up with the machines to see how they did together. And then we have been working very, very hard on creating overtaking in autonomous racing. So we did the first autonomous racing overtake in our championship, and then in the middle of that, we also set the Guinness World Record for the fastest autonomous car in the world. After that, we went to Goodwood, set the autonomous record for the hill climb, and this season sees us taking on the the challenge of season beta. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Next slide, please. And this really does set up Roborace as the proving ground for AI. Each competition is designed to provide a variety of challenges for our teams. As mentioned, the teams are responsible for their own code and strategy. We provide the platform, the organization, and support. And this is what makes us such a great proving ground for them. So let's talk a little bit about season beta. Next slide, please. We're just getting ready to launch season beta, and the season schedule is there. It runs through September, and starts in September and runs through May 2021. We'll do 12 rounds of the championship, and we really look forward to some tight competition amongst our teams, and we'll see who's standing at the top at the end of the championship. I just want to tell you about a couple interesting things we'll be debuting in this season. Next slide, please. It's something we call the Metaverse, and the Metaverse is a virtual world that we can really overlay on the real world. And again, we're always looking at path planning with these vehicles, and by putting these virtual obstacles in the path of the vehicles, it gives them something that they need to plan their way around. The nice thing about it is if they don't plan their way around it and they hit it, we of course know, as you can see here, this vehicle is hitting an obstacle and it hasn't done any damage to the car. And it just, again, speeds up our testing to make these vehicles better for the real roads. Next slide, please. As we work on this, we'll push the Metaverse farther and farther, and it'll allow fans to interact with what's happening with the vehicles, and we can give a lot of different information out there. So we really look forward to introducing the Metaverse to everyone, and for pushing its boundaries. And I believe we now have a short video which will show you a little bit about Roborace.
What does the future look like? I have an idea, but I can tell you exactly what it sounds like.
This is the official attempt.
Is it going to work?
We're about to find out.
We're not trying to outcool anyone.
We're trying to out-nerd everyone.
Okay, do it right. Drop that record, do it tight.
Metaverse is a mixed reality racing format where you can play with data and give the right to place objects to our audience. So it's not just another motorsport thing, it's motorsport 2.0.
This is either going to be a glimpse into the future
Or a spectacular failure.
Either way, you're going to want to watch.
Now, how cool does that look? I'm really excited about that. Thank you very much, Chip. What an exciting time for Roborace it is. Now, we'll have a few questions for you later at the end of the event, so please don't go too far. Maybe grab a coffee. I know it's the early hours of the morning over there. But as for now, we're going to get to our next speaker, and please welcome the Acronis SIT Autonomous Roborace Team Principal, Ilya Shimchik. Over to you, Ilya.
Thank you, Chris. So we are SIT Autonomous Team, and we are part of SIT, Schaffhausen Institute of Technology. Please, next slide. The university based in Switzerland, and our main focus is innovative robotics and self-driving technology. And actually, there are three main areas we are working right now. Of course, it's Acronis SIT Autonomous Racing Team in Roborace. We compete with other teams in the world first Autonomous Racing Championship, and we are there not only to compete, but as well we would like to advance the state-of-the-art of self-driving technology and develop advanced AI safety system which will be able to act as a professional driver in critical situations on public roads to avoid accidents. Second area we are working on is to provide strategy consulting and transformation services for the companies. We bring together autonomous industry experts, enterprise practitioners, business intelligence, designers, and create unique paths for transformation for their organizations. And third, based on our expertise and experience, we are developing products in the area of autonomous robotics system. And for example, it is mobile robotics platform, autonomous technology for ships, agriculture machines, robotic manipulator, space exploration, and etc. Please, next slide. Let me introduce our core member of SIT, of Acronis SIT Autonomous Racing Team. So I'm a team principal. Alex is a principal robotics software engineer. His main competences is car dynamics, system optimization, and simultaneous localization mapping algorithms. Maxim Filipenko, focusing on system optimization, cyber physical system, and car dynamics. And Ruslan Mustafin is doing machine learning and racing algorithms. Please, next slide. Let me tell you a story behind our team. So actually, we've been involved in Roborace since 2017, and we participate as a university research projects in autonomous driving. Then we tested and developed our algorithms as an Atlas racing team since 2018. And now in 2020, we joined together with SIT the Roborace Championship. And SIT helping us to provide high-level research and science, and we will transfer this science and research and test this in Roborace environment. During this time, our team published several papers on autonomous driving algorithms and autonomous driving system in top-rated robotic conferences, and also we got second place in the DD Udacity competition in self-driving algorithms, which have been held in San Francisco, and there were very good judges from such companies as Didi, Google, Udacity, and Voyage. Could you please next slide? And what we're doing in Roborace and what we're going to achieve. So as I said, Acronis SIT autonomous team in Roborace is not only for competing, but also to make the technology transfer from Roborace environment to the public road. And the main goal is to advance the self-driving technology and develop advanced AI safety system and test the system in the safe environment of Roborace and test the system at the limit of handling, because it's the only safe environment where we can test the car at the highest speed and at the limit of its handling. We are offering to automotive and motorsport teams partners, like technological partnership, R&D in self-driving technology, and testing self-driving algorithms into Roborace track. And please, next slide. And let me tell you a couple of words about the technologies that we are using in Roborace. So Roborace car is a car with a lot of sensors, and this sensor generates pretty big amount of data during each run on the track, and we need to process this data and understand this data almost in real time to understand the environment and to make the decision how we should control the car. And just a couple of main topics that we need to understand and we need to solve. Mapping and localization, we need to understand car dynamics, and not only car dynamics, how to control the car, but how to control at the limit of handling, because it's quite different than just to control the car on public road. We need to generate trajectory and planning, and we understand what is the limit of car and where is the moment when car losing its friction with the road. And that's problems that I mentioned related to the control, but also there is a main big task related to the perception. As I said, lots of sensors, LiDARs, camera, IMU, GPS, OSS sensor, a lot of sensors, and we need to process them almost in real time. And we need to understand how to work with such big amount of data and make a solution based on this data really quick. Please, next slide. Yeah, now you can see our car. It's a DevBot, and you see there is a driver seat. And actually, the driver seat is only for testing purposes. So driver keeping our car safe. He's sitting in the car, and while our algorithms is driving the car. So he's not interacting with the car unless something is like wrong happening with the car. And I'm proud that Acronis and SIT, our main partners, and they're helping us to develop such algorithms. As well, you see the car has sensors. On top of the car, there's like GPS and LiDARs on the front, on side, on back. So it's like 5 LiDARs around the car. And as Chip mentioned, all cars have the same platform. All teams have the same platform as Roborace car, but the main differentiator is the software. And team shall provide and shall develop the software, and software is competing right now on the track. Please, next slide. And let me tell you a couple of words about SIT, our partner. For new global challenges, it's been decided to build a new institution in Schaffhausen. The institution is focused on computers, physics, and business, and their main pillars, university, research center, and tech park. And SIT able to do science, technology, business, and education in the area specifically focused on cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, software engineering, and robotics and autonomous robots. Next slide, please. And actually, SIT is a new type of university which combines science, education, and transformation to create new digital world, which is hyper-connected and information-driven. And next slide, please. To build even such conceptual device as an autonomous car, which is right now driving in Schaffhausen, you need to, in Schaffhausen as well, you need to combine technologies from different areas, from cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, software engineering, robotics and automation. And ideally, autonomous cars should drive much better than humans, but we are very far from it today. Our purpose in Roborace is to accelerate the development and the progress of autonomous driving algorithms and software. And together with SIT Research Excellence, we believe we can do it. And SIT created an alliance with top institutions like Carnegie Mellon and National University of Singapore. Thanks to SIT, we are able to advance our technology level and participate in Roborace Championship and compete with other top teams from the best universities. We are participating in education and research together with SIT. So our team helping, collaborating in education to provide capstone project for students, preparing online courses on autonomous robots and robotics, helping with labs in robotics and AI courses. As well, we are happy to collaborate with SIT in research domain and publish papers, apply for different grants, and making a partnership with industries and making transfer of technology from SIT to the real life. Next slide, please. Yeah, and I'm happy to announce that Acronis is our official cyber protection partner. And actually, Acronis is also partner of whole Roborace Championship, and as well, it's partner of our team. And now I would like to pass the word to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilya. Acronis SIT Autonomous is definitely a team to watch, and we're looking forward to seeing your team's cars on the grid. I think it's a great looking car. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see that out there on the track. I've got plenty of questions for you as well, but we'll get onto those later in the Q&A session. And if anyone has any questions who's following us on YouTube or Facebook, please remember to send them in via the chat or comment function, and we'll get to those to our speakers as well for you. I know there's some coming in already, so we'll definitely have plenty to talk about when this is done. But it's quite clear that in all categories of motorsport, partners are a crucial part of each team. So now a few words about the company who is supporting so many teams around the world and has become a household name when it comes to cyber protection. So let's hand things over to Board Advisor and Senior Vice President at Acronis, Janja Jager, to understand more about this partnership. So over to you, JJ.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Ilya. Of course, this partnership is super important for us as well, because it fits perfectly in that what we do as Acronis. But a couple of words to who we are. So we are a leader in the cyber protection space. But before I go into that, what that means, let me tell you a little bit who we are. So we are a founded company in Singapore in 2003, but our headquarters is in Switzerland, in the same location where SAT is based, and the autonomous team that we just launched today. We are in the cloud space and we serve all different kind of sizes of customers through our partners ecosystem. We have about 50 partners, 50,000 partners around the world, and we serve from very large enterprises with tens of thousands of employees in systems to very small, medium businesses to even single man organizations. We are a global company. We're very proud that we are operating very local. It means that not only that we are in 33 locations and we have more than 30 languages supported, we do 151 countries last year transactions of our solutions, but we also supply the cyber protection services to local data centers around the world through our partners ecosystems and ourselves. Now, what is cyber protection? Next slide, please. As everybody know, the world is a very dangerous place, especially if you look at all of the announcements that we see online. So what we have is an integrated autonomous cyber protection solutions. And the autonomous is actually the innovations that we have been driving. The cyber protection solution represents something that is unique of a kind, one in the world. Nobody is doing that what we are doing. And it's exactly what SIT autonomous team is trying to do now as well with Roborace, is trying to push the boundaries of what is capable and to make sure that it contributes to improving the technology that will help us all in the future. That's what we're trying to do as well. Now, everybody knows security. Everybody probably has an endpoint and has an antivirus installed on their laptop. And you think that you are protected? Guess again, it is actually not. If you really truly want to be protected, there are 5 key pillars that needs to be taken care of. First of all, safety. Make sure that if you have your laptop and you have your data, make sure it's protected, you have a copy. Now, you can make it as safe as you want to. You can put all the data in Fort Knox, but that will not help you as well because you want to make sure that that particular information is accessible as well. So the balance between safety and accessibility is super important, making sure that only the right people get access towards it in a very secure and safe way. But making things very safe and very accessible also will have a concern with privacy. So how do you deal with privacy? Now, everybody knows right now with all of the things that are happening in social media and the platforms that you have, and you click on a link and then basically your privacy is gone. So privacy is going to be a more and more important topic in the future as well. And that's exactly what we also need to make sure that every product and every solution that is out there will basically have that taken into account. Now, the world is also now very familiar with fake news. You hear it every day, tens of thousands of times. Now, fake news is not only about what you see publicly, but it's also about how we make sure that the authenticity of the information that we are sharing, that we are storing 1 year ago, yesterday, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, is in 10 years exactly still the same and has not been tampered with. So authenticity is going to be also a very key pillar into the whole cyber protection space as well. And then, of course, I already mentioned security, endpoint security, devices security, infrastructure security, super important. But people think that that is just solved by just, uploading or installing and cybersecurity software. That's not the case. There are multiple products that need to be connected and integrated with each other. That makes you the best protected. And it should be not an solution that you have to update so that you're right protected. No, it needs to be completely autonomous so that it can protect itself, and with that it can protect you. That's exactly what cyber protection does. It combines backup, disaster recovery, patch management, front-end security, and all different kind of other solutions that we have. Now, coming back towards this partnership with SIT autonomous team that we launched today in Roborace. Next slide, please. So as what Chris already mentioned, we are not unfamiliar with the sports world. In the last couple of years, we have built partnership with some of the most advanced and top teams in the world. If you talk about soccer, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, AS Roma, Atletico Madrid, if you Ajax, if you talk about motorsports, we are in Le Mans with Toyota, we are with Formula One teams like Williams or Racing Point. And we do certain things with them. One thing they have in common, they use Acronis technology to help them protect and to offer great services. One of the key things is, of course, Cyber Protect. Cyber Protect is our core angle point, and I just talked about it. But one of the key elements that is super important also is the ransomware protection that you read every day about. How do you make sure that your endpoints, your users, are using the technologies and infrastructures in a safe way and will not be falling towards the ransomware attacks that there are? We store an immense amount of data. As what Ilya already mentioned, they're collecting gigabytes of data per second and terabytes of data per race. All of that need to be stored and need to be secured and protected. That's what we do for all of the teams that you see here as well, that we make sure that we have that data stored and secured in a safe way. And of course, we grant access towards that to secure sync and share solutions that we have. But the most exciting thing that we do with this team, and also this partnership represents that, is innovation. And innovation is through research. And through research, we can find things out that will help all of us to improve the better solutions that we have as Acronis, what we do already for ourselves. But through those partnerships, we are also learning from those particular partners itself. And that's the artificial intelligence business that we have. And that means that because we're working with all those sports teams, we have immense amount of data. And together with those sports teams, we look at how can we make more sense out of this data? What can we learn out of this data? And how can we make a machine learning out of it, or run over it, or artificial intelligence through that, so that we can optimize either if it is a pitch performance on the field for soccer, if it is indeed better analytics before you go into a wind tunnel within the Formula One, or when potentially chip failures will happen within car racing during Le Mans, or if it is, for example, what we do right now here also with the SA team, the autonomous team, how we can actually figure out how they can increase their performance as well. And we work together on that. And that is not only helping the team, but it's also helping us, because our technologies that we offer towards our customers will have the same principles of that we're trying to learn and protect our customers better by doing it through an artificial intelligence and machine learning, rather than a human hand that needs to update a patch so that you're protected for a new virus that actually nobody knows in the world already exists. And that's exactly where Acronis comes into play. So we're very excited about this partnership, and very excited what's going to happen over the next beta season with Roborace. And we wish, of course, every participant the greatest of luck, but I do hope that SAT Autonomous Team will win. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, JJ, as well. I'm going to have to hook Acronis up with my sports teams because there's so many on that list. But before we get to that, we're going to have some questions in from both you guys and from myself. This is an opportunity for me to try and find out a little bit as well. So if you're following online, don't forget to send in a question either via Facebook or via YouTube. We've had quite a few sent in, and I'm going to start with you, Chip. We had the season schedule slide up earlier where we were looking at what the original plan was for season beta. I don't know if that's changed too much now with the strange year we've had. Just how challenging has that been for Roborace with everything we faced in 2020?
It's an interesting question. I mean, season beta originally was going to start in March of this year, and of course we went into lockdown for coronavirus, and we quickly reprioritized what we were doing within the championship, and we realized, well, everyone's sitting at home and they've got their computers with them. So we really we at that point we didn't know how long it was going to be, but we reprioritized and we pulled ahead a lot of development. So we pulled ahead the development on Metaverse, and then we also launched the full development on some other things that we're going to be looking at for the season as well. So by the end of now, what we're doing with season beta will actually come out of season beta with more development having happened than we had originally planned. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but through the agility of our teams and our internal development, I think we've made the best out of a difficult situation. And to that end, our engineers are actually at the track today, testing and preparing for our first event.
Wow, the work never stops, does it? We've had another question in that's for you. That's from I'm trying to see it's coming in from Sylvester Kozak has asked, can you explain the rules of season beta and where the racing will take place? So what sort of circuits are we're going to see these cars on?
Yeah, so rounds 1 and 2 for season beta are going to be at Anglesey Circuit, which is in Wales in the UK, right next to the sea. We had 22-mile-an-hour winds yesterday there, so weather's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but that's okay. And just quickly about the rules, what we'll be doing for the first half of the season is single car performance runs. And while the cars are running, we will be experimenting with the Metaverse, which we showed in the video a few moments ago, and putting virtual objects out there, revealing those virtual objects to the vehicles about 300 meters ahead, and having them plan their way around those objects and see how they do. Some objects will be penalties. Some objects will give you a bonus. So they have to make the decision making of go around the penalties and go for the bonuses. And based on that, they'll be doing 6 laps. And then based on how many bonuses they get and how many penalties they have, their raw time is then tabulated into a total time. And that's what makes our winner. So the car has to go fast, it has to be accurate, and it has to decide, should I hit that or shouldn't I hit that? So an interesting competition for sure.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I've got a question for you, Ilya, actually, that's come in as well, that's about the competition. And it's just, is the major competition differentiator that each team develops their own software and otherwise these cars are completely identical, or are there any other parts that are different between the cars?
Yeah, right now, exactly, that's correct. So right now we are competing in the level of software. So each team is identical in terms of platform. I mean, platform is a car with whole sensors and base layer software that car have. And then team should develop their own solution based on this platform and compete in the software. So it's a competition of software right now. But in the future, maybe Chip can make more details about, maybe it will be changed. But in this season, it's right now.
Yeah, this is true. We always we do things, we perfect them, and then we move forwards. And in the future, we will start to free up some of the areas where the teams can experiment more with sensors and compute platforms and things like that. So that'll be coming quite soon.
Awesome. And another question actually for you, Chip, that comes in as well, that's about AI in terms of, was it involved in the process of designing the body of this beautiful car? So it is a really good looking car.
Thank you very much. Our AI is for this one is a gentleman called Daniel Simon, who's our Chief Design Officer, and he of course designed Robocar from scratch. Actually, with DevBot 2, DevBot 1 was really our development vehicle. It didn't even have bodywork, and it had wires and sensors hanging all over the place, and we needed to make it. It started life as an LMP3 car, and we wanted to make it look a little bit better. So Daniel spent a little time making it look better. But we are actually hard at work on another car, and we are using different design techniques in that as well as Daniel, of course.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about the partnership a bit. Now, personally, on my level, I've known about Acronis through partnerships in Formula One, but also there's been huge success this year at the Indy 500 and Le Mans. Ilya, I'll start with you actually. What's it mean to have Acronis as a partner to the team?
For us, it's crucially important because for our team, the data is valuable. We have a lot of data from sensors. As I mentioned, it's like gigabytes per minute that we are getting from the car, from lidars, from cameras all around the car. And this data need to be protected. And it's not only on protection of the data. As I said, one of our goals is to develop the technology in Roborace that in the future will be used as a commercial technology. So we will transfer the technology to the public road. And this technology need to be safe and secure from ransomware, from hackers attack. And that's exactly what Acronis is doing. So Acronis is providing cyber protection for commercial system. And I'm very glad that Acronis is our partner from the very beginning, and we can integrate this technology into our solutions, into our future solution from the very start.
Thank you. And Chip, similar to you, really, what's it mean to Roborace to see a brand that's so involved in sports all over the world getting involved in Roborace?
Yeah, it's terrific, and Acronis have a lot of expertise in AI. So we look forward to what they'll bring to the team. You take the collaboration of Ilya and his group SIT and Acronis, and we think that's really kind of a perfect storm to bring new ideas and innovation. And that's what we're always looking for in teams is, do they have the right ingredients to be able to do something special and do something a little bit different and unexpected. For us as a business, having Acronis on board across our enterprise is particularly important. Obviously, from the cyber protection side, that's a given. But data management and storage, which we've talked about, and the individual teams have gigabytes per second, and we're dealing with multiple teams. And then in addition to that, here in Los Angeles, I have our entire SIM team, and then in Las Vegas, we have our testing and development team. So there's a lot of data. Managing that data, storing that data is very important. And then a particular subject that is really important to us is end-to-end security. And this is something we'll continue to stress because this is important to the entire topic of autonomous vehicles. And we can kind of look at those strategies on within our ecosystem as well.
Yeah, JJ's still with us. I can see him laughing along there. JJ, just to bring you in, what's in it for Acronis as well, being part of this?
No, it's innovation. Means where are we heading in the world is that there will be more and more devices that creates data. This whole Internet of Things, smart devices that have in your homes, and all of them are connected to each other. And all of them create some kind of data. And what Chip already mentioned is going to be critical that we are protecting that particular endpoint in the same way of how we do it today in the normal infrastructure and IT. Because you don't want to have an autonomous car driving on the road that's getting hacked or getting attacked with some kind of malicious software, and then it goes rogue. So for us, it's innovation. Through this particular partnership between Roborace and of course also the SAT autonomous team, we learn also how we can protect those types of systems better. Not only in that what we do with making more sense out of the data, but that is the most important thing, is innovation. We're a company that stands for innovation. We would like to do different things than what other vendors do, and that's exactly what we do with CyberProtect.
Thank you very much. I'm just looking through some of the more questions we've been sent in from the followers on YouTube and Facebook. And we've had one that's definitely come up a few times. And it's, when do you think the day will come when an autonomous race car will beat a top human driver? So, Ilya, I think you mentioned about how you think an AI car should be beating a human and should be better. That potential's there. But when do you think that day will come? Or has it come already?
It's not come already. So I think the AI-driven car is better than human in some areas, in some extent, maybe better than average human driver. But to compete with top racing driver in Formula 1, I think it's not, at least not in this season, at least about our team, I can say. But we are hoping to achieve this level in the next 3 years of Roborace.
I guess I can open that up to Chip as well. Is that something that you guys have seen? Is Roborace, is the DevBot getting closer to being able to beat a professional racing driver, or do you think it will take a little bit of time to get to that level?
Yeah, well, the DevBot's an interesting platform for that problem, because you can run it around in autonomous mode, and then you can take it out of autonomous mode, and you can put a professional driver in it. And this is something that we've experimented with, and the performance level between a top professional driver that knows their way around electric vehicles and the autonomous mode is much closer than everyone thinks. I mean, it's very, very close, and I believe that we will be able to get the autonomous vehicle to beat the professional driver sooner than anyone thinks. It has a lot of things going for it, in that it has many more controls. It has many more sensors. It has a lot more processing power than even the smartest professional drivers. So it's a matter of time. And I don't want to go out on a limb and put a date on it, but it's sooner than you think.
I can put a date on it, Chris. when Max Verstappen stops racing, they will beat any other racing driver.
I'm sensing a little bit of bias there. I don't know why. But speaking of racing and that side of it, as Chip, you've already mentioned some of the sort of challenges it's going to put in front of the dev bot and the way that season beta is going to go. But when will it be definitely ready for wheel-to-wheel racing and overtaking? Would you say it is now and it's just about easing that in, or does it take a little bit longer to get these cars and this technology and software to that level?
Yeah, interesting question. We actually did wheel-to-wheel racing in season alpha, in several events of season alpha. But what we realized is the way we were doing the wheel-to-wheel racing was a little bit limited and didn't allow for where we wanted it to go. So we decided to put our efforts in developing the metaverse. The metaverse, when it starts, will have static objects, but then we'll be able to put ghost cars in, and we'll be able to play around with the overtaking of the ghost cars. And then we have an all new algorithm and procedure for overtaking, which is a much freer procedure. We call it the universal overtaking, which allows an overtake to happen anywhere that essentially the vehicle can safely plan a path around another vehicle. So we want to get to the point where we have something that has the exact same abilities and opportunities that a human driver would have. If you see a gap, you go for it. And before it was a little bit more procedural than that. So we're hopeful. As I said, season beta is a development season. We're hopeful to be looking at those things at the latter half of this season.
Thank you. Yeah, I can open it up to Ilya a bit as well, actually. Just how big a challenge is that? Because I guess people watch and see, okay, you can program a car to go around the track and to maybe deal with almost, I know there's going to be challenges thrown at it in the metaverse, but you can almost predict what's going to happen there. But something that's so fluid as racing and fighting against another car that's doing the same thing, how difficult is that going to be for you guys?
So actually it's quite difficult for our side because, as I said, you need to combine a lot of, it's an interdisciplinary approach, and you need to know a lot of areas, not only like a software engineering. You need to understand the robotics, you need to understand how to process data, lidars, cameras, you need to understand how to control car, and also you need to be as a racing car engineer to understand the dynamic of the car, to understand its behavior. So I think the main complexity is combination of different areas into one platform, into one system, and that's the main challenge and the main complexity. So, and thanks to the partners from SIT, we can transfer their knowledge and to apply this knowledge in our team.
Thank you very much. And JJ, just to come to you, I mean, Acronis has a lot of sports partnerships. I work in motorsport, but I love all sports. I'm a rugby fan and a baseball fan. So Sale and the Padres are usually going up against my teams actually in those sports. But is there a place for cyber protection outside of sport that people need to be aware of as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we do this because we want to improve our, I would say, generic everyday life situations, and that's exactly where we are in this space, right? Like, we have about 50,000 partners, and we have millions of end customers that basically use our technologies, and this particular partnership will help us also to drive innovations to improve our cyber protection for our customers that we have today. And we keep improving, and we launch almost every month a new release with new features and new protection layers, etc. And that means that this will help also drive that innovation moving forward for the actual current everyday life scenarios.
Well, that brilliantly takes me to the next question for Chip and Ilya, actually, in terms of the application of Roborace tech in real life. So Chip, what do you want to see Roborace kind of provide in terms of technology to the real world?
Really kind of just about everything we do, from path planning. So, we talk about overtaking, and we always think of, two drivers battling out, going down into a corner. But, when you think about it, every time we drive our car, we're overtaking cars, and that's a problem that needs to be solved. But more than anything else, everything we do is kind of looking at what we call an edge case scenario, or something that's happening right on the edge of the capability of the vehicle or the software. And by consistently looking at those edge cases, we think that'll help really accelerate innovation. So ultimately, it's innovation across all fields of what it takes to run an autonomous vehicle. Ilya, just when he was talking about overtaking, talked about the multitude of things that need to happen to make that happen effectively. And likewise, there's everything in autonomous that's there. So if we can help accelerate that innovation, then we fulfilled our mission.
Yeah, Ilya, I just wondered your thoughts as well. Is there anything else you see that it's going to be applied to?
Yeah, I just like to add that we would like to focus, our team would like to focus on one of the areas such as like advanced AI safety system, because we think that on this area will provide direct impact into our lives and health. So, but I agree with Chip that everything that we are doing in Roborace related to autonomous driving could be applied to the autonomous vehicles that are driving right now in our streets, including safety, including obstacle avoidance, including perception, control, and path planning.
Thank you very much. And I've got another one for Chip, I think, actually, because we've had lots of questions in about this. Where can people watch Roborace?
Right. So they can watch Roborace on Twitch. Just go to Twitch, look for Roborace. We have our own channel there. You can also check out our social. It'll tell you how to watch all the events. But we are streaming our events live on Twitch.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. I've still got a question or two that I want to ask, but if anyone else has any more, feel free to keep sending those in. My one's actually to Chip as an F1 follower, fan, someone who works in the sport. I'm looking at the crossover here. Is there any chance that Roborace are going to use any Formula One tracks? So we're going to get to see a comparison between the progress Roborace is making with AI compared to real drivers?
I think there is. So we're actually looking at an event for season 1, the beginning of season 1. I can't announce it yet, but that would take place at a Formula One circuit. But it brings up an interesting fact for us. While we'll continue to go to racing circuits, we will also start to leave the racing circuits a little bit. We keep talking about road relevance, and putting the vehicles out into controlled urban environments and maybe some of the larger smart cities is something we're interested in doing as well. And that's one of the reasons we're currently looking at the concept of a new car, so we have something that's a little bit more versatile and has a little bit more ground clearance, so we can do those things. So to answer your question, yes, I do think we'll be at a Formula One track within the next 12 months. But no, we will look to go out onto more urban settings as well.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. It's still very, very exciting. Now, I want to ask Ilya another question actually as well. Obviously, you've talked about where we might see crossover and where the technology and safety side will come into play, but this is still a sport and this is still going to be competitive, it looks like, towards the end of the season. So what's your main aim for season beta? Is it to just be the best to win races?
Yeah, I think it's for any sport team, we would like to win. We would like to win the current season and to provide our best efforts to win the race, to get the topest place that possible, but we are doing our best.
Thank you very much. And just Chip, maybe I'll give you the final word on this. What do you want to see Roborace achieve over this next coming season? Where would you like to be at the end of the season? I'm
going to follow up on just something that Ilya said, and it comes down to one of the other reasons why we do what we do. When we first started out season alpha, which was in April of 2019, and we did it at a track down in southern Spain called Monte Blanco, we did several days of testing beforehand, and we had the teams there, and they were all doing their testing and kind of getting on with things, and the progress was quite good. And then about, I think it was 8 days later, we got into the first day of competition, and literally everybody's attitude changed. And they're watching each other, and honestly, protests are flying, and they put their tires out and they're heating them in the sun. And the pace of what happened was awesome to see. And we have some great teams here, and a lot of really smart engineers. And for me, what I want to see is that competition between teams. We're still kind of young as a sport, so the teams are still helping each other out. And we have chat groups going, and they're helping each other out. But that's all going to change pretty soon once they start going fast. So for me, what I want to see is I want to see good close competition. I want to see innovation happening. I want to see teams pushing harder. I want to see teams pushing in different directions. If we can pull that off and make self-driving systems as a whole better, then we've done our job.
Yeah, I think you're right. The competition is never far away, and it'll get spicy very quickly, but I can't wait to see that. It's going to get lots of people tuning in, so we're looking forward to seeing it. Thank you to our panelists and for speaking to us today. Thank you very much to everyone as well for joining us. That's all we've got time for. For those of you participating, we'll be sending you the full recording and information in the coming days. And if you have any further media questions, please send those in to pr@sit.org. And that concludes the team launch. An exciting time ahead for Acronis, SIT, Autonomous, and Roborace. Bring on season beta.
Thank you.
Thank you.